So in this yoga session, what I'd like to do is I'd like to help stabilize the lower back and also begin to flex it in such a way to strengthen it. So that's my main aim in this session. And I also want to do some work on ankle and feet. So that's where we're heading. First of all, let's start as we normally do, which is beginning to become present and be here, because we've probably been rushing from other things to get to do some yoga practice. So let's remember this is our time, our space to make us feel wonderful. So fingers crossed. So finding a nice comfortable position, probably lying down, though of course you could, if you wanted to, sit on a chair, but I'd recommend lying down. And if you have a blanket, put that over you. Maybe a little cushion for your head. All the things that make you comfy. And the first thing I want to do in this practice is just to recognize the uniqueness of you. If you feel in life that nobody particularly cherishes you enough, it's okay, because actually you can cherish you completely, because you're pretty amazing, each one of you. And I know some of you who are present for this session, but also when I think of anybody in the entire world, the uniqueness, extraordinariness of a human being, that gasp of appreciation as a baby is born, a lack of judgment. Let's bring that to ourselves. And it's a very trite saying, and so it's often overlooked, but we are enough exactly as we are. So let's check in at the level of the mind. How is the mind this evening? How is it? And if it's feeling particularly stressed or burdened, a nice image is to imagine a waterfall pouring over your forehead, your hair, almost through the mind itself, washing away anything that doesn't need to be carried anymore. And then let's turn to the emotions. Oh, it's complicated being human. But how are we feeling emotionally? And again, no judgment, just noticing. And what's really helpful with emotions is to know that every single one is there for a reason. Even an emotion that is, I don't know what I'm feeling. I feel a bit strange. I feel a bit weird or a bit odd inside. I can't work it out. Even that's there for a reason. It can be met with kindness and tenderness. And then being aware of the body. So just check the areas that you know tend to hold stress or tightness. Maybe your shoulders are rising up towards your ears, or your jaw is tight. Or maybe your chest is compressed and tight pulled in. Well, allow those lungs and heart some space. Maybe your forehead is all scrunched up. Just checking your particular areas of tension first. And then let's together check the arms, because actually people don't realize how sometimes they can be holding the arms if they're anxious or stressed, as though they needed to kind of pound something or run fast with the arms pounding along. So we could imagine them dissolving, letting go, as though we were in deep sleep. And then scanning the rest of the body. And if you're able, kind of committing to giving yourself whatever you need in this practice, being kind. Don't do things that will overstrain you or push you too far. Give yourself full permission to fall back when you need to. So we know that how we're feeling mentally affects us emotionally and physically. How we feel physically affects us emotionally and mentally, and how we feel emotionally affects us mentally and physically. So they're all those three so interconnected. So by working on the body, we're going to be hoping to have the knock-on effect of soothing the emotions and calming the mind. And let's be aware of the body being breathed for a moment. And when the mind wanders on, which it does, coming back to awareness of the breathing. And then being aware of the breath, body, emotions, and mind. How your body feels here on this mat in this room. How you feel here, this moment in time. Aware of sounds inside and outside the room. And if you open the eyes, aware of light, aware of shade. Simply just being for a moment. So hopefully that's calmed the system down a little, maybe calmed the heart rate down a little. And we'll start to move into doing some practice, very gently at first. So first of all, bring the legs to parallel, put the toes away from you and towards you. You can pedal the feet as well. And then breathe in, stretch the arms behind you, and just enjoy that stretch. And if you can, see if from the base of the pelvis up to the rib cage, you're really opening out the abdominal area. You can even try and see what happens when you pull in the belly button, massaging those internal organs. Okay, now let's point the right foot and the right arm away from each other. A stretch, and then the left sides, left foot, left arm. And then both together, both sides. Okay, and then bring the arms up towards the ceiling and clasp the hands together and push the palms up to the ceiling, letting the shoulders come up off the floor. And push the left palm to the heavens, and then the right, and you might get another inch or so lift. Left, and then right a bit more left, left, right. Eventually we'll be touching the ceiling. Left, right, a bit more. Okay. And interestingly, in doing that, you might already feel it. You're engaging muscles in your lower back. Okay. Especially the higher you go. And then separate out the hands and point the fingers, point the palms away towards your toes and fingers up to the heavens. And then point the palms towards each other, but keep lifting. Okay, and then open out the arms into Maltese cross, so coming straight out from the shoulders. Check that you have enough room and bring the chin to the chest. Nothing to do for a moment. Let's just let those shoulders relax because they went into a bit of a sudden exertion. And then I want to do some footwork. So if you've got your blanket over you, see if you can fold it comfortably and put it not too far away because you might need it later. Okay. And then I'd like you to bring your knees just to point into the ceiling, so soles of the feet on the floor. Okay, and pause there for a moment and pull your pelvis towards you. Okay, so it's the gentle cat rock of the pelvis, so, and then away from you. So the pelvis is coming towards you, using your thigh muscles, some abdominal, some back muscles, and then let it rock away from you. And towards you. So tighten the buttocks, coming towards you, pull, 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 and then push away from you, creating an arch in your lower and mid back, and then towards you again. And let's just keep doing that with the breath. So I would breathe out as you pull the pelvis towards you, and breathe in as you push it away from you. And you'll feel your head's probably slightly rocking. Just try to ensure that the chin doesn't go too far up to the ceiling. It's more towards the chest. And I'll leave you in peace for a moment as you do that with the breath. So if your feet are not feeling so comfortable, you could actually do this just about with one leg, not so flat on the floor, one foot not quite so flat on the floor. It's a little bit trickier. Okay, and then pause for a moment. Again, check chin to chest. It's that back of the neck being long. that's helpful. And then I'd like you to bring your left foot up and over onto your right knee. So reach with your right hand and just pull that left ankle a bit closer to the pelvis. At the same time, bring the left hand to that left knee. And I want you to feel the front of that joint. So it's the lowest part of the knee joint where it's going down towards the shin. But in there, you'll feel dimples. And I'd like you to actually take your middle finger actually into the dimple. It's on the outer side of the front of the joint. And then you can feel if there's any dimple on the inner side. And use your thumb there, middle finger on the outer one. And just generally actually feeling around that joint. Then take all the fingers and rub the front of the kneecap. Now the kneecap itself is bony, so we're not actually getting much response, but those little dimples below the kneecap, really quite helpful. And sometimes you can actually feel, sort of crystallized. It's almost like a gravelly sensation under your fingers. Move that around. Okay, and then if it doesn't hurt too much, just push that left knee away and reach through gently towards your right thigh, but flatten the tailbone towards the floor. Okay. So with the tailbone going towards the floor, you're pulling your right thigh towards you and you're pushing your left knee away from you. Now, if that's too much on your knee joint, you can actually let the knee go down to the ankle instead and do this. It won't be quite as strong on the left hip, but it will do some work. If it stays up on the thigh, you'll feel some strong work around that left hip. And you can even use your left elbow to push the left thigh away. Interesting, but keep the tailbone going down towards the floor. Chin towards the chest. Face relaxed if you can. Okay, lovely. Relax. So right foot down onto the ground. I'd like you to take the left leg up to the ceiling. Okay, and hold behind the thigh. And just gently encourage that left leg towards your face, just a little bit. Just see how your back is doing as you do that. So we're straightening out the left knee, and now I want you to massage the back of that left knee. So going in and finding areas where maybe you find dimples, seeing what you can feel. Giving a little bit of friction in there to the soft tissue to increase the blood supply. And then maybe use the palm or heel of your hand to quite strongly rub around the sides of that knee joint. Okay, good. And then fingers towards your toes. If you can reach your toes, do, but if you can't, it's probably a good thing that you can't because it's quite strong. You could hold behind your calf instead. So just gently encouraging that leg, stretching it all the way along the back of that leg, left leg. Chin towards the chest still. Lovely. Okay, and let's release that leg down to put the left foot on the floor, left knee bent. I'm going to do all that we've just done, but with the right. So bring the right knee up, face the right outside ankle onto your left thigh. Okay, then I'd like you to feel around your right knee, and at the front below the kneecap there are dimples on either side. Feel in there, see if you can feel anything. So it's that wonderful kind of balance point of not pressing too hard but also pressing enough. Okay, and then trying all around that kneecap area. Again, it's not called kneecap for nothing, it's like a cap of bone. And it's all bits that we want to get at are more or less underneath or at the sides or top or bottom of that. So see if you can feel around it and just check how it's doing. And then I'd like you to take your hands, so your right hand's going through between your legs, you're holding on with both hands behind that left thigh, and your right knee is going away from you as you pull that left thigh towards you. So that's really working around your right hip. Chin to chest again, you'll find the chin just keeps wanting to go to the heavens. Okay, and you're letting your right knee go away from you if you can. You'll feel it around that right hip area. Keep the tailbone going towards the floor, so we're not lifting the pelvis towards us if possible. Okay, and breathe into it. It's quite strong, but it's effective. It makes a lovely pose, this one. And if you know you've got hips that are getting tight or seizing up, try and do this maybe first thing in the morning or even last thing at night, or both. Okay, breathing into this and then releasing that left foot down to the ground. Take the right foot up to the heavens, hold on behind the thigh, right thigh, and just see if you can encourage that leg to straighten and the toes come towards the head a bit more. So probably resist, even though it's the evening, it'll be more relaxed than it was in the morning, but bring the toes towards the face, opening out the back of the leg if you can. And then I'd like you to rub around the back of that right knee joint. And again, it's almost exploratory. What's going on in there? How is my knee joint feeling? Can I bring all the blood supply by a little bit of friction and deep massage? Rub the sides of the knee joint, the top above the kneecap, all round. And just see what it feels like. And then at the end, just kind of caress the whole of the knee area, front, back, sides. They work very hard for us, and they're a joint that's often wrongly used by accident. We don't do it on purpose. Gosh, it puts up with so much, so it needs attention. Lovely, and then straighten the leg again and hold behind the calf, or if you can, the toes. Again, chin to chest, and just encouraging that leg a little bit more over the head. Don't worry about locking the knee. It doesn't want to open right out. That's fine. But we're moving into the pose until we feel the stretch. And I would recommend relaxing the abdominal area, the shoulders, the face. The shoulders tend to want to rise up towards the heavens here, just let them drop. Breathing into the pose. Lovely. Okay, and then breathing out, bend that right knee, place it down, right foot on the floor, place the hands by your sides for a moment, nothing to do, close the eyes. After I said nothing to do, just check that your shoulders aren't creeping up towards your ears. Okay, relaxing, breathing. So, as is quite common, I'm doing yoga by stealth, I think, today. We're doing poses that were really bringing the maximum effectiveness out of. So it feels slow and steady, but it's strong work. some days that's exactly how I like to do yoga, and other days where I'm doing quite energetic sequences. And some days where I mix the two up. So I would like you now to go into the lying down cobbler. So walk your heels up towards your torso and then push the soles of your feet together with your knees bent, and the knees go out wide to either side. You can lift up the hands and just place the palms onto the thighs, seeing if you can encourage that opening. So it's doing several things, as you can feel. It's stretching adductor muscles inside the thighs, around the hip joint. It's also closing the sacroiliac joint at the back. Okay, there's two little dimples in your pelvis. But when you've pushed with your hands enough, and that you feel that your knees are as close down to the floor as they can go, relax the hands to either side. So if you have knee problems, your front of your knee might complain at this point, as though it's sending a warning signal through your kneecap. And the way to handle that is just to walk the toes further away from you, foot further away from you on that side. Just even an inch or two can make a difference. If it doesn't want to do it, it probably doesn't want to do it for good reason. So just ease it out a little. And let's be in the pose. Taking a few rounds of breath, following the breath. Let's see if we can fully surrender to Supta Baddha Konasana, fully surrender to this lying down cobbler pose, so that we're not doing or being in an achieving way. We're simply allowing the pose to work on us. Okay, lovely. And then bring the knees together and straighten both legs up to the ceiling and hold behind. I'll bring the toes towards you. So if you have lower back problems at this stage, I'd like you to keep that tailbone going down towards the ground, because what I don't want is any serious forward bends. So legs going straight up from the hips to the ceiling, that's fine. Chin towards the chest, relax the shoulders, toes towards the face. Breathing into the pose, tailbone pushing down towards the floor. And then doing the wide scissors, so with the hands behind the thighs, just opening out the legs as wide as you can go, toes towards the face. And again, you probably feel your shoulders get tense as soon as your arms have to work. The shoulders kind of, oh, let's join in and tighten up. Just let the shoulders go. And imagine that the outside of your ankles are going to touch the floor. I mean, they're probably not. Going as wide as you can. And again, tailbone towards the floor. And your lower back, which is on the floor, just feel that it's settling down nicely into the earth. Okay. Now breathe in, bring the legs together. And let's just do some very gentle bicycling work, cycling, exaggerated cycling. Your hands can be wherever you like. I've got mine clasped on my upper belly at the moment. So you're bringing your knees towards the face and the heels towards the floor. Okay, and then do reverse cycling. This is a great one for the knee joint because there's no weight going through the knee joint as we're working it, and it's using it as a hinge joint. So it's helping to really lubricate it and stretch tendons and ligaments and muscles around it, working the joint, but in a safe way. So backward cycling is kind of hard work after a while. Okay, relax, down, soles of the feet together again, back into lying down cobbler. Close off the sacroiliac joints. Relax the lower back into the floor, into the earth. Imagine it's softer. Okay, just breathe in. And I'd like you to practice during the summer, lying in a field, on a warm day, in this pose, watching the clouds go by, melting into the earth. And if this pose feels like, oh, people might stare at me, if you're not somewhere remote, try it just in the corpse pose instead, Shavasana. Okay, and then the next pose is extremely good work for sacroiliac joint, hips, lower back. So you're staying in this lying down cobbler, but we're going to do the hip lift. So press the feet together and lift the pelvis up off the floor, as high as you can go. Now again, if your knees, either knee starts to complain, just move the feet further away from the torso. That will help. But I find that I get to a certain point and I kind of relax into it. And then a little bit later, I can lift another inch or two. It's hard work. Chin again, we'll probably start trying to point to the heavens. Bring it down to the chest. And keep that lift. And even though it's extremely hard work, it's extremely good for you. So it's worth doing. Hanging around here thinking, oh my goodness. This is one of my secret power yoga asanas. I have a few up my sleeve that are super duper. This is one of them. Okay, so I'd recommend if the lower back is feeling really iffy, you do that a lot. You go up into that and you repeat it, say 3 times, and you do that 3 times a day, that particular pose. We're going to do it one more time, so you can breathe out, come down. Deep breath out. Be glad that it stopped. Smile, if you can. Face kind of likes it if you smile. Softens muscles in the face that sometimes get a bit tight. Okay, we're going to do it again. So up we go with the pelvis, and you'll feel your buttock muscles tighten and abdominal muscles tighten, back muscles work, lower back muscles start to deeply engage. You're lifting up as high as you can. And you're trying to breathe into it, trying to relax the shoulders, trying to keep the chin to the chest. Up, 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 up we go. Okay, you can stay a little bit longer. If you've really had enough, breathe out, come down. I'm just going to encourage those who can to stay a little bit longer. Okay, breathing out, coming down, and then relax the legs out into the corpse pose, so the feet are about 2 foot apart, allow the toes to go out to the outsides. Check that the shoulder hasn't crept up to the ears, chin to chest. Just pause or do nothing for a moment. I would like the sacroiliac joints and the lower back to actually absorb the benefits of what we've just done. So just in an interim neutral pose, which is beneficial in itself. Okay, and then you don't have to move yet, I'll just tell you what we're going to do next. So another pose which is really good for the lower back and the knees together is the bridge pose. So I'd like you to bring your heels again up to the torso. You're probably hip joint width apart on the heels. And then adjust so that your back of your neck is really nice and long. Just checking that. And hands at the moment are by the sides, palms downwards, toes going towards your feet, and tailbone at the moment pressing it down towards the floor, so slight arch in the back, pelvis slightly tilted away from you. And then I'd like you to breathe in, lift the arms up behind the head as you lift the pelvis up. Okay, chin to chest, thighs parallel, feet parallel. High lift, engage, and breathe out, coming down. Okay, so when the back reaches the floor, push the pelvis away from you. And then breathing in, tilt the pelvis towards you, up you go, arms and lift of the torso in sync. If the knees hurt again, the trick is to slightly move the heels further away from the body, so there's not so much pressure through the front of the knee joint. Breathe out, coming down. So you've probably recognized that I'm taking deep, long, slow breaths as we do this bridge pose. On each in-breath, I'm lifting up. On each out-breath, I'm coming down. But I wouldn't worry too much about which breath you're doing as you go up and which breath you do as you come down. Just doing it with a breath. So you've got that nice rhythm of slow breathing. Okay. And the other thing, if you want to double check, is doing an extra lift when you're up there. Really engage the lower back muscles, and they will engage if you think, okay, I am going to go up to my highest, keep the thighs parallel, and I'm going to lift, pushing through the feet, another a little bit more. Okay, the next time we're up, we're going to stay up. So breathing in, going up. Check. Your thighs are parallel, the sense of those. What you don't want is the knees going out wide, because that would start to strain the joints, the knees. Now we're up, and now lift up a bit more, as though there was somebody put a belt underneath your pelvis and lifting you up to the heavens. Now relax the shoulders, face, chin to chest, and hold that pose. So be ultra aware of lower back, knee joint, back of the neck being open. And that lift, so engage through the gluteus muscles, lower back muscles, thigh muscles. Wonderful pose. Wonderful, beautiful pose. Okay, breathing out, coming down. And you can relax either in lying down cobbler or in the corpse pose, but I just want you to go into a neutral, beneficial pose for a moment and let go. And hopefully there's a pulsating sensation in the lower back. More blood supply coming into that area. Cells, muscles, tendons, ligaments, everything. Hopefully, replenish blood supply. Able to strengthen. Cells being bathed. All to the good. Hallelujah. But what we don't want to do is move too fast to another pose at this moment, so just let that happen. Imagine we're lying on a beach, if you like, on a sunbed. Nothing to do. Dreaming the afternoon away. Okay. Good. And then bend the knees again. Heels going up towards the torso and roll over onto one side and come up. Okay. So just coming up with the legs comfortably in front of you, not particularly any pose at the moment. And then coming up to standing. Take it nice and slow. Okay. And we did some very deep work there, so no, I don't want any really sudden jumpy movements at the moment. I'm stabilizing around this area through that knee joint. So bring the knees right under the hip joints and just bend the knees as though you're about to sit on a stool. Okay, and see what the knees are doing. If they're feeling that's okay, that's good. If they're feeling like, oh, heck, that's horrible, don't go down so far. Okay, I'll do it side on so you can see. All we're doing is we're just dipping. So this time we're working the hinge joint of the knee, but with some weight going through it experimentally. And then when you've found the position that's comfortable for your knee joint, see the angle from my ankle to my knees there. I'm going to try and do that similar angle with my arms and looking up. So this is known as the strong pose. I think it's because it really requires strong thigh muscles. They're working quite hard there. And tuck the tailbone under, engage the abdominal muscles and drop the shoulders. Bring the shoulder blades slightly together and down towards your waist. And check that the arms are parallel, arms facing each other as you look up. Okay. And then slowly, slowly straightening the legs and take the arms higher up. So you're in extended mountain and look straight in front of you. So check the back of the neck is comfortable. Chin slightly down. And now I'd like you to, while you're in this pose, staying in this pose, arms facing each other above your head, I'd like you to tuck the tailbone under. I'd like you to check your ankle joint, that it's not collapsing in or outward, and check the weight distribution through your feet, so you're not just on the heel or ball of your feet or in step. Steadying out through the feet. And at the same time, now lift those arms upwards even higher. Out of the shoulder joint, stretching your back. Breathing into it. Should feel long, nice normal stretch. Keep tucking that tailbone slowly under. Engage the abdominals, pull them in a little. Relax the face. Breathing. Okay, and then bring those palms together above your head. And you can curl over your little ring fingers. And your middle finger and your index finger keep pointing like a rocket to the heavens. Your upper arms are going past your ears. You can cross your thumbs one over the other. And again, check your belly button isn't sticking forward, pulling it in, and your tailbone's going under. Shoulder blades coming together and down, but shoulders lifting up. Check feet, check ankles, check knees. Breathing into the pose. And we're going under. If you tend to want to start sticking out behind you, get tucked in. Lovely, lovely. And then just lower the hands so that the heel of the hand is just, the wrist area is just resting on the crown of the head. Okay. Just be resting like so. And then bring the hands into Namaste with the palms pressing together to the forehead, throat, heart. Relax the shoulders down. Okay. Breathe into it. Close the eyes for a moment. And again, do the checks through the feet, ankles. Check your knees are directly under your hip joint. Tailbone, tuck under. For all I know, you may be absolutely perfect. Always have your tailbone tucked in and under when it needs to, and always have your chin going in the right direction. So that if it's annoying you that I keep saying that, oh, just leave it with me. Okay, and then just breathing out, releasing the hands down to the sides and shake out those arms and shake out those legs. Okay, so I really feel like I've done some very fine tuning in there with my acupuncture needles, really changing meridian points or nadi points in yoga. So I don't want to do anything to kind of upset the deep work that's still stabilizing, but I do want us to do a side stretch because that's really helpful for what we're doing around this area and into the knee joint, so around pelvis, lower back. So separate the feet out, probably not as wide as your mat width, just a little bit less, okay? but check the knee joint. You might have to look down at the knee joint. Remember, the knee joint is hinge joint, so you're probably going to have to turn the feet out slightly, just slightly, so the knee joint is comfortable. Okay, and then place the hands down by the sides, actually pushing down. You see what I'm doing? Push down, heels of the hands onto the sides of the body, push down and away. Push down, push down, push down. It's as though somebody's pushing down on your shoulders. We'll do that again. So come up, lift your armpit, and push down, push down, push down, push down, push down. Okay, and again, coming up, and push down. So the heels are in armpits, and then they push down, push down, push down, push down, push down, push down. Okay, and then relax the hands and breathe into that pose. So hopefully it feels open across the chest at the front, shoulder blades together and going slightly down. But the hands are dropping heavy, 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 and the chin is slightly down again. And then breathing in, raise your left hand up. And that right hand, you know what's going to happen. It's going to slide down the outside of your right leg. Over you go. So a lovely side stretch, and eventually you can let that top left hand just the hand drop. And just feeling how it feels in the lower back. A lovely side stretch. Can you open out the left armpit area a bit more? Good. Breathe into it. And then breathing in. Push with your right hand, come up. Back in. And again, side push. Side push. And that action's quite a good one. I've been using it more in my own work. We don't get enough pressure on the sides of the body. Okay, and then relax. And guess what? We're going to do the other side. So right hand goes up, stretches up as high as possible. Left hand goes sliding down the left leg, outside of left leg. Extend the stretch. Drop the right hand. Looking forward. And breathe into the pose. So if you can get down to about the knee joint, that would be great. But if you can't, do the best you can. But when you're in your best pose, try opening out the shoulder, armpit a bit more, the right armpit. Want that lymphatic area there really stretched open. And you might have a sensation you're pushing your right hip away to the right. That's good, because that accentuates the stretch on the right side of the body. Okay, breathe in. The arm up to the heavens, right hand up to the heavens. Begin to pull in your right hip to the center, coming up. Breathe out, hands down, and just move the arms a little and shake. As though there was water on your arms and you're just shaking them off onto the ground all the way through. Okay. And then I'd like you to do that. We did that. Yes, remember. What I want us to do is I want us to do the back arch from standing. So separate the feet again, not too wide, but wider than hip joint width apart. Okay, and then breathing in, look up to the heavens. And breathe out, go back. So supporting your lower back, sacroiliac and back pelvis area with your hands, like so. Okay, pushing your pelvis forward, but just comfortably feeling what's happening in there. So with mine, most people, lower back, a bit vulnerable, at the age of about 40, well, actually 30, it gets a bit vulnerable. So
you might feel, but as long as you're not, you're doing it so it's almost like somebody doing very deep tissue massage, like that, you're all right. But if it's a sharp pain, stop. You know, really sharp pain, like, ow, kind of pain. It's just, that kind of pain, that's fine. Breathing into it. Drop the shoulders. Open the front throat area. Check your feet. You're probably doing something funny with the ankle joints. Just check even weight distribution through the feet. Open the heart area. Lift the heart up to the heavens if you can. Okay, and then, coming slightly forward, show you side on, slightly forward. Bring the chin down towards the chest. So you'll probably feel crinkling and crackling in the neck vertebra. Don't worry about it, it's okay. Then slide the hands down to the knees, bend the knees. Check your knees are in hinge joint position, that you're not doing anything funny with the knee joint. Chin tucked in. Just pause there for a moment. So you're not in a full forward bend. You're just in a semi-squat. Not gone down very much. Okay, and then straighten out the knees a bit. And straighten up and take the arms all the way up, because they had a bit of a strain there. And when you get to the top, I'd like you to move your fingers a lot. Okay, and then rotate your wrist joint with your arms up in the heavens. And I really like this particular movement in this standing mountain pose, working your wrist joint. Okay, because what you do is you've got the blood now rushing down the arms, but no weight through that wrist joint at all, nicely lubricating the joint and moving it. And then in a moment, we're going to swing the arms down and replenish into that joint. So I want you to really deeply work around that wrist joint and the fingers as well, if you can do at the same time. Then let them drop, really let them drop. And you'll feel that wonderful sort of tingling of blood rushing down the arms into the hands. The hands will start to pulsate. The wrist joint is slightly throbbing a little, but in a good way. Take the crown of the head upward to the ceiling. Check weight distribution through the feet. Okay. Nodded. So bring the feet a little bit closer in, just underneath those hip joints, and place all the weight through the right foot, and just bring your left knee up straight as a hinge joint and hold under the thigh. Okay, so it's a balanced pose where you can do ankle rotations. So if you have one of your feet is feeling a bit under the weather, you make sure that you don't stand all the weight going through that foot. You do use the other foot. So you do the same thing on the same side. We're going to swap feet, so now everybody else can swap to the other foot. Bring the knee up, make sure it's a good hinge joint, and then rotate your other ankle, so balance pose and ankle work. Okay, and then down, back into standing mountain, Tadasana. Close the eyes, crown of the head lifting upwards, tailbone tucked under. Even weight distribution through the feet. Let's become the most wonderful mountain. Stay immovable. Strong. stable deep into the earth. And see if you can imagine that we're now not just, I'm like 5'1" and a bit, but imagine that we're as tall as Mount Everest, that big. Big. We have substance. And we go deep into the planet. Feel the solidity and the weight of that. Making friends with our mountain side, the side of us that is a mountain. Part of us that feels strong, immovable, unshakable. Lovely. So next, I said we weren't using a chair. You don't have to use a chair, but if you want to use a chair at this point, you can, because we're going to sit down. And some people would find it easier if they were sitting down on a chair. You can sit down on the floor. So Emma's comfortable. I'm going to bring a chair up simply so you can see clearly what I'm doing. And you might not be able to see my head very well, but you can see my feet. So bringing a foot up. So again, you've got to be careful of that knee joint. Okay, so it needs to be at the hinged. So what we don't want to do is do something weird like pull this foot too high up, but bringing the foot so that we can actually work on it. Pull back a little. That's better. Okay, so I'd like you to use the palm of the hand and push through the foot, and use the heel of the hand on the ball of the foot. Okay, and then careful on the instep, tends to be vulnerable, but you might get away with the heel of the hand giving some pressure to the instep. Okay, like so. And then the rest of the hand moving all the way along the foot and grasping around the toes. Okay, and then back along the foot. So when you get to the heel of the hand to heel of the foot, some pressure, sweeping up and down. Pressure on the ball, pressure on the heel. Okay, so what we're aiming for is that bit of the foot, the whole bit that we put our weight on every day, all day, is I'd like you to let it feel as though the whole of the hand is really connecting, massaging, caressing, rubbing right through. It's not leaving any part of that foot feeling left out. Okay, and then use the fingers of both hands and go a little bit deeper into the soft tissue area. So if you find any part of the foot area that's feeling a little bit funny, needs a little bit more attention, go in gently and carefully. And you can also use the knuckles, see these top knuckles here, into that soft tissue. And, I don't understand why we don't do this more often. You can also hold the foot and use your thumbs into the soft tissue. That's really good. Moving the soft tissue around in circles or pressure, pushing in. And the only person who knows how much pressure is nice and works for you is you. So it's almost as though your mind is now inside the sole of your foot. And then when you come to the toes, I'd like you to twist and pull each toe.
And then see the little bit here, the bit that you're the bit where basically your toes never get sunburnt now, briefly bend over. I'd like you to just take your fingertips and rub in there. Okay, and then rub across from top to bottom. Those from your big toe down to your little toe. And then use both hands, complete caress. So obviously you could do this with massage oil or foot cream or body moisturizer. Basically loving that whole foot, and then a final rub around the ankle. Poor ankle, you know, goodness gracious, it works so hard. And then the last thing to do is that Achilles tendon at the back. If you could actually rub both sides of it, slightly nipping, just to see how it's doing. Can easily form scar tissue in there if it's feeling that it's been overstretched. So just increasing the blood supply in there. Lovely. And then place that foot down. Guess what? We're going to do the other foot. So bring the other foot up. And first of all, it's using the heel of the hand. Okay. And really pushing with the heel. So normally I do this sitting cross-legged and just work on my feet, but it'd be a bit hard to do. So you can see me on the video. On using the heel of the hand on the ball of the foot. And then you can use the knuckles all the way through the foot. Yeah, after a while you get used to what works for you. Gently use the heel of the hand through the instep again. Remember this instep area in reflexology, this is very, very tender. There's certain organs in there that if you press too hard, it's probably not a good idea, but just gently rubbing through the instep. But the rest of the foot can take quite strong kneading work. And use your thumbs. I like to separate out the ball of the foot, and right in the middle of the ball of the foot, it's a tender area, but it's quite nice to do little circular thumb movements there. And the outside of the foot, unlike the instep, that can take quite a lot of deep pressure. And you might feel bits, if you feel a bit that's going clunk, clunk, or feels like something sort of moving around a little, go back, give it a bit more attention. So quick recap as you keep rubbing your foot, but use the heel of the hand, use all the hand for a sweep, use the knuckles, you can use the thumbs, and then you can use all the fingers and the thumbs at the same time. Okay. And then remember to do the toes, so twisting and pulling. Why do we do that? We want to get more lubrication into the joints of the toe. I forget how many bones there are in the feet. I used to know and used to always tell my students, but an awful lot, far many more than you'd think. But do that with each toe, pulling them out, twisting them a little. Those joints working well. Little toe probably needs a bit more attention. Okay, and then the bit in there where the toes begin to join the foot itself, just rubbing up and down and there. The big toe itself likes pressure and it's underneath pad. It has to work quite hard, so it's a bit of loving, tender massage. Okay, and rub the whole of the foot. Then around the ankle joint, or ankle joint. You can move the ankle at the same time. You might find here it crackles a bit at the front of the joint. As you move it, worrying, that's good.
Actually moving through those crackly bits, and then the Achilles tendon at the back. Slight bit of nipping work as well. It's now nice up, and then rubbing on the front again of your knee joint. So the work we were talking about before was there were dimples here. This is the kneecap, and you can probably actually feel the kneecap. So lift one leg, 1 foot off the floor, and just swing with no weight going through the knee with your fingers all around the kneecap, and you'll feel all sorts of interesting things happening, creaks and crackles and crunches. What's like that, or it's just me? Okay. So when you've done that and you felt, oh goodness, that's probably an indication you need to lubricate that joint a bit more. So let's get some rubbing around that area. Again, more friction, more heat. And into those dimples at the front. Okay, and then round the back. And then again, it's almost as though you're trying to sense with your fingertip what's going on in there. Again, you lift your foot up and do a very, very straight hinge joint movement. And feel where the creaking and crackling is happening. Okay, so that was that side. Let's try the other side now. First of all, just rubbing around, finding these dimples at the front, around the knee joint, and then lift up the knee with the fingers, sensing as much as possible all around the kneecap area. And again, whoa. Now, is that worse or better than the other side? And am I the only one having crackles? If you're having crackles, people who are watching, can you put your hand up? Okay, that's interesting, most of us. Yes. Well, that's how much strain and stress this poor knee joint goes under. Okay, so it actually needs an awful lot of lubrication. It needs the legs going up the wall to flush it through. And it needs this kind of, again, go back to the rubbing, heat, friction. And using the joint, but with no weight through. So it's not for nothing that physios say use one of those elastic bandy things, exercise bands, put it on the leg of your chair, put your ankle through it, and then with resistance, actually move your joint. So you're not putting a weight bearing through it, but you're actually tightening and strengthening muscles, tendons, and ligaments around the knee joint, because it is a tricky joint. Right, now rubbing both of them. Okay, and then place the hands on the knees. Okay, shoulders down, and just feel the warmth, hopefully warmth of your hands going into your knees. And ring finger and middle finger are probably on the dimples. So giving your knees some reassurance. And it is quite extraordinary how complex a joint it is, how important a joint it is, and how little attention we give it. You know, one of the worst things you can do for the knee joint is to run on, pound the leg and knee joint on hard, like tarmac road. And the other thing that's probably the most worst is walking downhill, pounding downhill on the knee joint. And the knee joint will be, if you're walking downhill, like you're coming down, you know, a mountain or something, or you're just coming down a scree slope or something, the knee joint is actually doing some really strange twists as you're putting that force through it. So it's why people recommend poles, so that you put weight through 4 limbs. 2 poles and the feet, and it takes good amount of pressure off the knee joint. And that's not just me saying that, that's one of my friends who's he's died now, but he was a very famous mountain climber, and he said he wished he'd known about poles from the beginning of his career, because he really messed up both knee joints coming down mountains without them. So when we've done that, we're near the end.
And you can stay sitting on your chair, but I'm just coming, you can see what I'm doing, I'm coming forward. So you can see what I'm doing. Hands, I want to do some hands work. So first of all, hands up and spread out the fingers. And you can do this lying down, you could do this sitting on the floor, you can do this sitting on a chair. Don't mind how you do it. Kneeling, cross-legged. But can you see my little finger and my thumb? I'm going to pretend that I want to play the piano and I want to have a really wide stretch. In fact, I've got really small hands, so I'm not really good at playing the piano at all. I can't really reach. My thumb and my little finger don't have big reach. So I want you to see if you can see that the muscles across there working hard when I extend that reach. And that's what we rarely do with our hands, extended reach. Maybe more obvious on this side. See that they're all working really, really hard across there. Okay. Yay, look at those lovely hands. Okay. And then keeping that wide stretch, bring the palms sort of facing each other. Normally our palms are flat when we're doing this kind of work, but because of the strong stretch, they're probably slightly concave. Okay. And then without the arms tilting inwards, keep the stretch, but bring the hands down. So you'll feel this interesting pull right across the back of the hands. Okay. Lovely. And then keep going down if you can, but keep the stretch from little finger to thumb. And I think your hands might feel this tomorrow. That's really good for them. Okay. And then open out and try and do the other way, which is almost impossible. So you're trying to take this hand down like that, but with the stretch. Okay, so you might not get very far. Just trying a bit more, even if we're only doing a centimetre or so. Okay, good. And then scrunch up the fingers and then open them wide and scrunch up and open them wide. Okay. Okay. And then, you know, the work we do on the joints, it's moving each joint. So normally I do straight, bend in, bend straight, but you can just do that if you want, depending on how your joints are feeling, or you can do the full in and up. But let's go through all the fingers. And doing finger work, again, a bit like reflexology, you know, you work on the foot, it helps all sorts of parts of the body, but also working on the hands helps all sorts of parts of the body. And poor hands often starts to seize up and do funny things really early on, because again, we don't look after them enough. Okay, and then pull, twist and pull. Okay, and especially notice if there's any particular joint that's not feeling so good, that you'll need more work by you on a daily basis. Twisting and pulling, opening out the joint. And then thumbs up. Okay, and your clasp, see if I can show you that. I can show you upside down. You're clasping the fingers tight in when the thumbs are up. Okay. And then bring the elbows back. It's as though you're going to put your thumbs underneath your armpits, but your elbows are back. Okay, and you'll feel your shoulder blades coming together. Drop the shoulders. Keep tight fingers, thumbs coming up, push back. And then come forward and wide. Wide, 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 wide. Okay, and then again, repeat. So bring the hands down, curl under tight, thumbs up, push back. Back. So it's like your elbows, I might not be demonstrating it very well, are on the same level as your shoulders. And you're really pushing back. Should feel hard work. And then release, open wide. Okay, and then bring your thumbs together, index finger, middle finger, ring finger, little finger, and opening wide. So it actually looks like that. Can you see? Wide, but pushing them together. Drop the shoulders. Push, 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 push. You might find that almost your middle finger can push together totally. Little finger, maybe not. Okay. And then drop the hands down and press the backs of the hands together, like so, and bring the elbows down while you're pushing the backs of the hands together. Drop the shoulders. Lovely. And then just run around the hands. If you have glasses on, take them off, run around the face. And what I suggest is, because I would run over if we did a 10-minute relaxation, is that we go into the relaxation and then you choose if you stay there for 1 minute or 2 minutes or 10 minutes or 20 minutes or 50 minutes. Okay, just gently smoothing around the face. Lovely face of yours. Softly caressing. And then go into Shavasana, and I'm going to say bye-bye here. So I hope you liked that session, and you do need, good, I'm glad you liked it. Some of my very secret yoga poses, and that's some of them I think that are tremendously effective. So go into a Shavasana. I won't meet you next week because 2 people couldn't make it, but I will meet you the week after, which is, I believe, the 6th, after the Jubilee weekend. But don't forget to do the Shavasana, it's really important. All right, bye.